The digital index has grown at a 25% CAGR%, with traditional and new age brands pouring more moolah into this medium to either generate performance or establish a direct communication line with consumers. While traditional players have seen digital as a performance medium to expand their distribution, the new age brands have leveraged it for both branding and performance. Let us hear from both sides on how they perceive this medium and see if it in future it scales up to be an equivalent to a television platform in terms of reach, brand building, awareness and performance. To elaborate this further, we have a panel discussion on digital medium, a two-headed sword with performance and branding. I would like to invite Shubho Sen Gupta, digital marketing consultant, to moderate the discussion on digital medium, a two-headed sword with performance and branding. Welcome, Mr. Sen Gupta.
Welcome everyone to today's meeting, today's conference, seminar, whatever. We've got a very interesting topic, digital meets branding, and it's my pleasure to welcome the panelists, which is Jaikishan Chapru from ITC, Sujata from Visa, Sriram Padmanabhan from Nissan, Alok Bhan from Max Life Insurance, and of course Indrajit from Rebel Foods. My name is Shubho Sengupta. I'm from advertising. Currently, I'm in the IT ministry. I work with various ministries, but I'm based in the electronics and IT ministry. And I don't have a company wallpaper background. You can actually see a blackboard. So currently, that's how we work. Okay, just a joke. So anyway, so let's just start off, and I'm really looking forward to picking your brains on how a lot of you, I think most of you, mm, moved from what we call traditional brandings, perhaps in the 90s or early part of the century, to what is now full on digital first kind of mobile first kind of marketing. How did you guys make the transition? And everyone has obviously done very well in transitioning. You guys have been leaders. So couple of questions that we'll be covering. I mean, we know the background. Digital has been growing at 25% CGR and all that. So I won't get into that. But basically, what the core of today's discussion will be, what we called branding in those days, in the 90s and earlier. How has it kind of changed? Adapted to along with technology to where we are today, where in this world of influencers and data and so on and so forth. And what are the gaps for traditional branding who are still on not really on digital? They spend some money on digital, but they're not really on digital. So, and of course, a head-to-head comparison, which is impressions, awareness when it comes to TV versus digital, ROI, stuff like that. So broadly, that's the contours of what we're going to discuss. And of course, everyone is welcome to, throw in a couple of new hats into the ring if you want to. We've got enough time for that. So let's start with Sujata then. Sujata is the head of marketing in India and South Asia, Visa. Sujata, one sec. I can't see you for some reason. 1 second. Now I can. Yeah, I think it
Yes.
was someone was asking you to move to the left. So
I moved
so
to the left, I think, yeah.
yeah, now you're a certified leftist. Okay, so we can start off. All right. So Sujata, you've had a checkered career, and the beverages in Coca-Cola. You've worked abroad. I think it was Southeast Asia, Jakarta. I can't remember anyway. And then you've kind of transitioned from the cola market to something which is completely data, right? At Visa. So being a traditional brand marketer, and you're thrown in the middle of data and more data right now, where did the branding part, is it still there, branding, or have the goalposts shifted? Would love to have you kick off the discussion today.
Sure, thanks, Shubho. I hope you can hear me well. So,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. You talked about the digital stories. I'm not going to talk about the numbers. We all know the numbers, how they're growing. I really believe as a marketer, and like you said, I've handled, FMCG brands and now, handle Visa. I really believe that both TV and digital marketing is needed, a media. And in Visa, we follow that. We follow a data-driven marketing process. We actually spend about, equal 50-50 on TV and digital. It can go up to 60-40, but we do equal in both. And what I find is that, of course, TV gives you the reach. So for example, I'll just take a small instance of when we went into the pandemic, we found out and during lockdown that people couldn't use cash, for most of their expenses, and they needed to go to cashless methods of spending. This involved educating a lot of Indian consumers on the convenience, the security of cashless transactions. So for that, since we had to reach the majority of the population, we use TV advertising. And I think that still gives us those huge numbers. But then to take it to the next step, we used a lot of digital. So for example, once we had told people about cashless, we had to activate actual people. So we used deterministic data to target people. So for example, we wanted to target a certain bank's Visa card customers who owned a debit card, but had been dormant for over the past 6 months. So through digital, you're actually able to target those people. So we use that. So I actually think it works well together. TV gives you the reach, and then digital helps you target the people more. Two other points that digital does is, as you know, Shubho, it's a great medium for storytelling. And we've seen brands can use long form content in digital. We're able to retarget with next phases of stories. And during the summer, we actually had the Olympics, and Visa actually is the global sponsor of the Olympics. And we had the first ever Team Visa athlete with PV Sindhu. And as you know, because of COVID, there were no spectators available in Tokyo. So what we did is we launched a fully social digital campaign called A Million Cheers, where we invited people to come and cheer for Sindhu. And what we found out is in less than 10 days, forget 1 million, we reached 5 million. So I think, like I said, if you have the reach, you use TV, but we supplement it with digital almost equally to reach the right consumers.
Okay, fantastic. I'd like to pass the ball to Jaikishan Chapru of ITC. And ITC, I actually started my career writing brochures for ITC in the 90s. So and I was, someone was asking me today, this gentleman had to write a brochure in the ministry and saying, why don't we just turn it into Instagram stories, right? And I think ITC has been a pioneer in digital, and they were one of the first, companies to actually get a website, and this is probably in the mid-90s. So what's the ITC journey like been, Jaikishan?
Okay. See, ITC has been kind of forefronting it from quite some time. But from a brand perspective or a division perspective, the journeys have had a different roadmap and a path. Right now, we actually have a mix of brands which are technically 100% digital advertisers and available only on the digital platforms, being fulfilled through e-com routes and other things. And at other end, we do have brands which are still a bit traditionalist in terms of their offerings, and even the customers want to touch and feel them before they buy. So we have the blend is pretty much a wide spectrum, right from being technically an offline brand to being completely digital brand. And off late, we have just started our own e-com platform as well. It's called the ITC Store.in, wherein the entire range of offerings from ITC, whether it is food products, stationery, paper, matches, agarbatti, or even the personal care range, everything is available on that platform. So, and yeah, there have been learnings all along. So we have kind of experimented in certain forays and realized that there's a significant amount of further learning that is needed. So yeah, the journey has been pretty interesting so far on the digital front as well, and we keep learning, we keep experimenting. We try to kind of pick up the current trend and see if there's something that we can kind of be early movers into on that front as well. So that's probably been the journey with ITC.
Okay, I'd like to kind of give the mic to Alok Bhan of Max, CMO of Max. Alok, would you agree with Sujata, where I think she mentioned that TV is for awareness, impressions, and digital is for the rest, more or less. What is the role of mobile? And I know you guys do a lot of business on mobile, including what we call branding, right? Traditional branding. So, what has your experience been like, sir?
Thanks a lot, Shubho. I completely agree with Sujata. At the same time, I don't agree with her because where I'm coming from, frankly, is the way I look at it. I'm not going to talk about my company or my. I'll focus on my category more importantly. And I think for all of us marketers, the core, or our core role is to acquire customers for our channels through storytelling or through positioning or through branding, as we talk about. And therefore, Shubho, my simplistic thought is that you have no choice but to be where your customer is. So if my customer is moving digital, then I have to be in digital. There are obviously many, many benefits of digital over traditional. Uh, and I still think I agree with Sujata when she says TV is the best medium for reach. So if we are talking about top of the funnel conversations to build awareness, then I agree TV is a great mode. Having said that, I'm a bit confused when you spread between digital and TV. I think TV is just an instrument. I mean, come on, like mobile is an instrument. It's a screen. So is TV a screen. So when I say OTT platforms, do I call that digital? Do I call that TV? I don't know. That's still jury is still out. But I think the traditional TV channel or the ATLs, as we used to call them early days, is still the best way to reach, to improve your reach. And typically for a category like mine, which is a lot about feeling and service category, I need to be more and more close to where my consumer is. If my consumer is getting disrupted, then I have no choice but to disrupt myself. But to answer your question on mobile, mobile is obviously the best way to get to your consumers because it's something he always has in his hand, etc., etc. So I won't go there. But yeah, just being on digital without being mobile savvy or without your website being mobile savvy, etc., is a waste. All your mediums need to be moving towards the handset. We call this internally a game between a relationship between the 7-gram mobile and the 70 kg man. How these two things can align together. So anything and everything that we at least develop and build on the IT side or on the digital side, it has to be mobile centric. Otherwise, we don't. And things are changing a lot, Shubho. Life insurance is a very complicated category. We couldn't imagine 10 years, 5 years ago also, that somebody will transact and somebody would buy a policy, a life insurance policy on the handset. But increasingly, as they say, the most successful chief digital officer has been COVID. It's moved things out of the boardrooms into everybody's house. So we are seeing that our consumers are turning to their mobile to purchase an insurance policy. Having said that, it is not only digital, it is not only TV, it is phygital. You still need a human interface. I don't have the luxury of a very glossy looking car like Sriram has. People will come and touch and feel. I have a piece of paper, which is a promise. All right. So people have to experience. Consumers will have to experience the purchase of a policy or the experience owning a policy, which needs some bit of human interface, whether you call it AI linked or you call it chatbot linked or whatever. Those things are evolving. So I don't see it as a disruption per se. I have no choice but to disrupt myself if I want to remain in the business. Yes, mobile is a preferred tool. Just the way TV is still the preferred tool, mobile is even more. I mean, come on, I'm watching the IPL match on my mobile today. I'm not watching it on the TV while it's available on TV. So I don't know what you call digital, what you call traditional. TV is just a tool like mobile is a tool. That's the way I look at it. Just stay close to your customer. That's all.
Thanks, Alok. Move to Shriram now, and thanks for mentioning the gorilla in the room, which is COVID. It really forced everyone to change a lot of business models and so on. So Shriram, I mean, I'd love to ask you about Ford Motor Cars and what they didn't or did, but I'll avoid that. Just want to ask you, during the time of COVID, what were the, what did you guys do? How did you stay abreast and so on? Please
Yeah,
go ahead.
actually, yeah, I think Alok mentioned it beautifully. The biggest digital officer or the chief digital officer was COVID, right? It forced us to change.
Yeah.
But actually, the change was coming even before. I've been now associated with automotive marketing and sales for almost 23 years, since '98. And I've seen various stages of how marketing is done, right? I mean, right from working through just TV as a key medium to now talking about a narration and talking about storytelling, programmatic to precision marketing. I see marketing as three components, right? I mean, people ask, is this a science or an art? It's a science, art, and a craft. And there is a bit of a insight performance management, which is the science behind it, the data management, the understanding of the mechanics behind who do we target. There is the art. Of course, creativity is very important, but we have dynamic creative options right now. There is not one single TV ad. Earlier on, we used to make 2 TV ads, and that's what the agency is hired for. Now we have dynamic creative options where we are creating 2,000, 3,000 dynamic creative outputs. And then there is the craft, which is the execution and the strategic part of it. Now, none of this changed. The ability for us to get the message to a customer is not changing. Our message that, car purchase is, ours is the best value product or the best performance product or the best looking product. That message hasn't changed. The customer's need from a car hasn't changed much. They want to go from A to B. They want to feel good. They want status. They want to look good when the car stands in front of their parking lot, more so here than any other country. So the messaging and the brand conversation and the narration hasn't changed. The means and the medium has changed. So I do agree with Alok that it doesn't matter what medium we go with. We need to try and align with what's working. Exactly like what Sujata mentioned as well. I think digital is an important part of it. We can't ignore it. It's gone from 4% in 2010 as media percentage to almost 27% of our media spends. From an industry perspective, we can't ignore it. COVID has definitely driven us quicker to it. 5 years ago, a customer would go to 5 dealerships before they made a choice to go to a dealership to close a deal. Now they go to 1.75. That's the latest number, right? They go to one dealership. So they do all their analysis about their vehicle on the website, on the, the third-party websites, on the manufacturer website. They look for reviews. They go to social media. There are so many Facebook pages and Instagram pages where they look for information. They look for social reviews. They look at Google reviews. They look at sentiments. And then they choose their product even before they come to a dealership. So as a manufacturer, I have to be so strong in understanding the customer journey and catch them while they're researching, not just wait for them to watch TV. But I do have to deliver TV. The message of upper funnel can't come on digital. That is what I've seen. The narration and the conversion, the lower funnel is probably better done from a digital perspective, but the upper funnel, the reach, even the trust, the fact that this customer, this particular company wants to spend money, that comes from being on TV. If a company has not been on TV for a long time, probably this company is not going to survive. Kind of conversation happens from a customer perspective. And also, look, digital is great, but what happens in tier 3, tier 4 markets where a huge amount of our customers are sitting, at least from an automotive perspective. So I think it's more about the creative elements, which is split 1,000 times more, in terms of precision communication and the science behind performance management. That's what I think we look for to choose which medium to go with. So digital is just a medium, mobile is a medium, and whatever tries to understand which part of the 50% of the marketing money works, that's what we go for.
Okay, thank you, Shriram. Thank you. I'll move to Rohit. Rohit is from InMobi, and InMobi is, probably one of the most successful advertising platforms, made very successful made in India, make in India story. So, taking off with Sriram's, mention of the marketing funnel, right? I've got the perfect question for you, which is, I'll just read out, ROI expectations from digital. Is it too much or is it realistic? I think you're in a very good position to answer that question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I've had the luxury of seeing a lot of brands spend on marketing platforms, right, such as us. And I think over time, ROI has been, I would say, evolving, right, depending upon practical applications that brands want out of their marketing budget. So I think with time, these parameters have, I would say, became more well defined, right? But I think the definition of ROI has changed a lot, right? There are now newer measurement parameters that are available. And I think digital platforms in itself are evolving at a very fast pace, right? I think there is a newer metric or a measurement unit available every 6 months or a year, right? So I think while the digital platforms are evolving, therefore, I think what ROI means, for brands and advertisers should also keep evolving. Right now coming down to, let's say numbers, right? I mean, what's that right number or expectation, right? I think while that is there, I think it is important that there is a balance, that is there between, when people look at digital and non-digital platforms. So I think every business is unique. I think their value prop is unique. Their customer journeys are unique, right? So a definition of, what might be applicable for a Nissan to a Visa, right, to a ITC might be entirely different, right? So effectively, taking a note of matrix, what other folks are getting out of digital, and applying the same to, your individual brand buckets might not be the right thing, right? So I would say it is very dynamic, right? It totally depends upon the problem that you're trying to solve. And I think I'll just, add into what everyone said, right? There is definitely reach on TV, but I think there are so many new, consumers that are there on digital now. So let's say talking about millennials, Gen Zs, right? They're probably not even there on TV, right? So if the target audience is that, probably digital might be a reach medium too, right? So it completely depends upon what the expectation is, and then kind of marrying ROI to the marketing objectives, right? So I would say it's ever evolving, and I think it's evolving more faster now than ever, right? Given what has happened in the last 2 years, and I think everyone has spoken about, how COVID has transformed things, right? We've seen like a lot of new users from tier 2, tier 3 cities coming online, searching massively and all of that stuff, right? So I think, yes, ROI expectation, I would say, should not be generic, and it should be very clearly demarcated in terms of, what's the objective from digital for the brand.
Okay. That's fantastic, Rohit. Okay, we'll move to Indrajit. Indrajit, you still haven't got your company logo background, but we'll start off
It didn't
anyway.
work. It didn't work. I think we are just gonna be as clean as possible. Yeah, it didn't work. I'm from Rebel, by the way. Hi, guys.
Yeah, we know that. I mean, I saw your campaign a couple of months back. The Wendy's campaign, which was part outdoors, part digital marketing,
Yeah.
right? That was very nice. I think it was in Delhi specifically, or was it on all metros?
Yeah, that was in Delhi
Okay.
specifically. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, food, cloud kitchens, collaborations with Zomato, Swiggy, etc. Tell us a little bit about how you're using your primary medium, I suppose, digital, to do marketing. Please go ahead.
So, while I think I'll just align us back to the one very
Sure.
beautiful statement mentioned earlier by Adu. COVID has been like the CDO for this entire marketing conundrum that we have seen. Actually, for us at Rebel, I think the biggest CDO has been the traditional restaurant industry. Given the fact that running a restaurant is high amount of burn when it comes to renting a space in a high street and then actually operating a brand out of, we started seeing a downfall for just a single run brand, Fasos, back in 2015. It was then when we had actually created all the websites, all the digital customer touch points in the world. But it actually occurred to us in 2015 that 70% of our customers had never seen our shops. They were actually just ordering online. We had never interacted with them. Everything that we had done in our store didn't make any difference to almost 70 to 75 people, percent of the people in Fasos. So that was the first light bulb moment that I think most of the businesses, most of the guys over here still have at least say 20, maybe a humble 10% real estate value to their business for the customers to reach out. We kind of shut it all out. We went completely dark. That's why it's called dark kitchen. And we made it kind of compulsory for us to reach out to our consumers on mobile, on screens, basically. There was no other way. And that's been, so we are not just say marketing digitally, we are operating digitally in all sense. And if anything more that could have happened, maybe through COVID, we have been even working digitally. Digital, very well put by many of you all, is a medium for us. I mean, for us, a huge factor of our business is our operations in a certain set of cities or towns. We are not there throughout the country. We are not there in every nook and corner of India. For us, it's kind of a success story when we reach another 50 kitchens in say another 2-3 cities, which would be nothing for you all, because not maybe for say a Nissan, but for like say ITC, setting up, partnering, doing a business development for a few more retail shops might be say a BAU. For us to set up another kitchen is kind of a task to be taken. So for us, when we do TV, it used to be a huge media spillage. I mean, no matter how much reach we would get, half of our reach wouldn't be able to actually be activated, as you said, get new customers. Half of our reach will never convert to new customers. Hence, digital became even more important. In today's world, I think more than digital, more than the medium, something that we have come to respect is that food is equal to consumption, is equal to content. So content through various mediums is the only way we can like actually stimulate people to like try out different kinds of meals. That too in an industry where like if I'm going to have like say a Behrouz biryani today, I have no loyalty towards it tomorrow. I would rather have a burger or a dosa. I mean, no one is going to just like repeat themselves having the same biryani over and over again. So even our most loyal customer is the most distracted customer. Hence, understanding a customer's journey, be it on phone, on TV, or playing games, it becomes very, very important. And it's kind of superbly dissected. And if we are trying to market one of our brands, we are actually cannibalizing on another one of our brands. So understanding that customer journey, understanding where they will be. Thankfully, we have an aggregator platform where we also do our marketing. We are very much visible on Swiggy or Zomato. We have actually launched our own direct to customer platform called Each, where we have our own brands, where we have our partner brands, where we have the brands like Wendy's or Naturals or MOD, which we actually run from our own kitchens in many cities, operating out of Each. You can actually order them out of Each. So all these direct to customer platforms are also marketing channels, if not only fulfillment channels. Apart from that, obviously social media is a channel. Apart from that, YouTube is a channel. So why is it so? Let me come back to content. There are 3 kinds of content that we play with and we need to play with, which is, the hero content, which say 10 years back used to be considered as ATL, TVC, which today can be a TVC in fact, or it can also be a huge amount of a big collaboration with say a content player like TVF, which we did with Behrouz the Royal Palette, where we actually went out in search for a few of the most secretive royal recipes in this country, brought us the same or maybe even more amount of reach, made it contextual to Behrouz, and obviously Behrouz stood out as a piece of royalty, a relic of royalty, if I may say so. So that becomes the hero content. It can be TVC, it can be a huge amount of a big content piece, or it can be like maybe an artist endorsement throughout all the channels, but that's hero. That is what the brand needs to tell people. It is very less to do with what people need. what people need to know or how the brand can help people in their daily lives. It's more of what the brand needs to tell people. And yeah, that requires reach, because that requires no conversion, but just insane amount of reach. Then comes the hub content, which is kind of an amalgamation of what the brand needs to say and what the audience or the consumers need to hear. And that is where, like, say, we go really big on social media. We have a huge amount of fan base. We are daily creating some or the other amount of content, be it food porn, be it contests, be it like very moment marketing kind of content, which basically happens every time we win the Olympics, or every time India wins a match, or there's some weather update, and every time there's a special moment, we try to capture it. And all of this is hub content. And then there is hygiene content. Hygiene content is not just social media. That's where digital comes in. That's where programmatic comes in, where we can, as many of you all said, I think the InMobi case was true. There's like 3,000 kinds of permutations and combinations of what kind of hygiene content you can do. And that is because there's 3,000 kinds of permutations, combinations of what a single audience of one does in today's day and life, versus what a consumer used to do like 10 years back. 10 years back, it used to be morning, get up in the morning, watch TV, watch news, read the newspaper, have Kellogg's for breakfast, go to work on a good car, come back, have a good time with family. Each of these moments that I've shared with you has gotten dissected into like 10,000 different possibilities. Like, you don't get up in the morning and watch TV. Someone is getting in the morning and checking out maybe updates on their iPad. Everyone is not getting up in the morning and just having something really beautifully made at home. Some people do order outside. Some people have like scheduled delivery from, say, EatFit, and so on and so forth. I mean, the amount of segregated human behaviors has resulted in the amount of segregated or compartmentalized content creation and strategy that then goes out into the different mediums that we see today. And in a distracted market like food, each of these are superbly important. And I think there is great learning in the chaos. And that's how we look at digital at Rebel Foods.
Thanks, Indrajit. Thanks, and thanks for bringing in content into the discussion. And I'll go back to Sujata. Sujata has led many content-driven campaigns, okay, over many years for many brands. And Sujata, I'm sure you've seen the Cadbury's Girl, the video, the film that's gone completely viral. And I was just thinking while Indrajit was talking, we saw it on television sets, 20 years, 25 years back, right? And now I'm sure everyone has seen it on WhatsApp for the first time. I don't think anyone, I don't know, just guessing. I think most of us saw it on our mobile phones, right? And it's the same, very uncannily similar content, right? The new one is supposed to be a remake of the old one and so on. So what is your take on, the screen changing, but, the same brand values being transmitted? This Cadbury's, I thought, was an example. That's my first question. And my second question to you, Sujata, is, the hero hub model that Indrajit was talking about. Okay, normally what we, as Indrajit rightly pointed out, the big TV ad is, impressions, awareness, right? You also mentioned. But what about the, the stuff right at the bottom, the hygiene or whatever you call it? Is there any space for storytelling at the hygiene level, or is it just transactional? Click here, get 20% off kind of communication? Would love to hear your thoughts on this, Sujata.
Okay, that's a long question. So let me start with the first part, which you said about content. So totally, I mean, it's all about, Shubho, reaching the right audience with the right content at the right time. And one thing we have to remember, and by the way, I love the Cadbury's ad. I thought it was wonderful. So I think the difference between 1990s and now is that time people were watching one screen and completely focused on what they were watching. Today, whether you watch content on your TV, your mobile, or your laptop screen, you have to remember the consumer is shifting between different screens at the same time. So you have a distracted consumer. You don't have someone who's just focused on getting the message that you want to get out. And that's why all the more content and the right content is very key. And that's where I talked about how, it's no longer a spray and pray, type of messaging anymore, where we just put it out and hope everyone gets it. It's getting the right content out to the right person, which is very, very key. And like many of my panelists have said, the medium is secondary. You have to use the right medium that reaches your consumer. But number one, I would say, is the using the right content. The second, you talked about hygiene. I don't think there's hygiene. I think whether you use TV, and for example, like I said, in ours, it was actually to give a very, very relevant message to consumers. So as long as you do it in the format that they're looking for. And like I talked, everybody's been talking about COVID. So pandemic really hit, people in a big way in the ways of paying. As you all know, India is a country where even if you order online, you still choose to pay on delivery with the cash on delivery method, which was created just for India, if you don't know that. Obviously, with lockdown, there was no option for cash on delivery. So people needed to know how to pay. So you can consider that hygiene, Shubho. I need to tell people that, if you make payments that is not cash, whether it's by card, whether it's by your mobile, it's safe, convenient, and fast. But it's much, much more than just, hygiene. It's also to tell people this is the way you can pay, which will make your life easier, quicker. So I think it all comes back to content. If you give content, like I said, in the right mode, even the most hygiene of messages can come across as great content for people. And that's what we try to do. Like I said, and I'll just close with our Olympics campaign. Basically, it was a social and digital only campaign. And it was just one message, right? That you can't be there in person to cheer. Let's send the cheers out through digital and social method. Could have been as boring a message as that, but it was the way the content was sent, telling each person you can be a person to wish PV Sindhu and help her get her medal, and which she did and brought back to a very proud country. And, so I think what worked was putting the message in the right way to them. So whichever screen you use, just ensuring the content is right for the consumer you're targeting.
Thanks. I'll go back to Jaikishan of ITC, which is, sir, your audience for, personal care products. How has it changed? The early digital in the, early part of the century, 2005 to 2007, 8 or something. And now, which is, primarily regional, perhaps, very geo-powered, very good smartphone kind of audience. How has this digital audience changed over the last 10 years, over the last 7 years, actually?
Audiences have been, actually the consumers have been evolving over time. And with the options that are coming in, depending on either a convenience of using that platform, or whether it is to kind of look at the entire set of offerings on the platform, the audience has also evolved and technically started catching up on things. If I was to kind of look at 5-6 years back, probably we used to have a lowest decimal proportion of sales coming in from online or digital platform. And in the last 18 odd months, that number has actually kind of just risen. The gaps between, let's say, the modern trade or even the general trade have more or less been compensated by audiences or consumers buying in online. So right from an offering of a fragrance brand with 60 rupees pocket perfume, or even going up to, let's say, a 3,000 rupees sheath mask, the audiences have kind of picked up quite a few of these interesting offerings only online. So, for example, there are multiple offerings, let's say in sheath mask from Korean brands, unbranded offerings from even indigenous players, to known brands like L'Oreal or even Dermafic from ITC. And the audiences have actually just kind of picked it up. So, for example, for the premium skin range in Dermafic, the entire communication goes online, and significant amount of information is only residing on the brand's website. And we have actually seen people coming in, consuming the information, and then opting in for the right offering for their type of skin. So the evolution of the consumers has also kind of graduated over a period of time, and I think it's purely because of the sheer access to information, access to internet, and having smartphones to kind of reach out there. So, for example, I'm just kind of going back 5-6 years in time. I used to be with Snapdeal, and that time the challenge used to be that even with a monthly active user base of 40 million, we used to kind of feel really happy and jumpy. The challenge used to be that smartphones were not available everywhere, and trying to get additional customers cost us a bomb at that point of time. I think post Geo, that entire gap has kind of just vanished. So because, the access of smartphones, access of internet connected phones, data enabled devices has kind of gone up multifold. The numbers are available everywhere. So I'll not dive into that. But the fact is that the consumer has started becoming smarter, and he is actually looking at alternatives and options online as well today. So yeah, as I said, in terms of numbers, the gaps of sales between the general trade and modern trade were actually very well compensated with our online sales.
Okay, okay, great, great. Thank you, Jackishan. Alok, I'll give you the mic. Your company Max did a campaign recently, or I think sometime last year, tied up with Royal Challengers, the cricket team, that is to sell term insurance. It was very interesting. I think it was called Front Foot Mein Khelo, something like that. I can't remember. There was a hashtag which is quite popular.
Yeah, it was called Protection Front Foot Pay.
Right, right. So, do you want to tell us a little about it? Because it's very interesting selling term insurance in a COVID situation. I must add, background was COVID. So, what was the experience like?
No, I will certainly talk about it in a bit, but I wanted to just reflect on what both was spoken about just in the past. And I wanted to just pick up 3 points from the conversation that we had from Sujata and from Jay Kishan, if I may, just for a minute more. One thing that at least we have realized through all this stuff, and why only we, everybody has realized that data is now the new oil. And that's what digital gets to you. You have bits and pieces of data coming from everywhere and anywhere else. So therefore, more as marketeers, we all as marketeers need to understand data that much better, which means the age-old traditional concept that the marketing is a right brain job is now moving more towards left brain. Sadly so, but yeah, you will see more engineers coming into the marketing fray and taking the aspect more importantly from data. That's the one thing that I see as a trend, and hence we all have to become more data centric and data savvy. Second is that what digital gets to us is performance marketing, and therefore going forward, whether you talk about ROI, you talk about anything else, your best ally going forward will have to be the CFO. Because if you don't understand how this is giving you ROI, then the CFO has various places to go to give that small $1 lying with him. End of the day, a dollar is limited. It's a limited resource. And therefore, my third point is, Shubho, before I come to the question that you asked, that there is increasingly disappearance of the term brand loyalty. It is probably getting a thing of the past because consumers have so much of information available to them. And that is actually what is digital. Digital is convenience. Digital is not some great IT stacks coming in and APIs coming in. It is convenience for the end user. If I can do everything on my phone, I feel empowered. So we all as marketers need to be coming up to the challenge. To your specific point, and I'll take a minute on that. So the concept here, Shubho, was that traditionally life insurance is a very boring, serious conversation, and in the past through all the stuff, agar aap mar gaye to kya hoga? Just think about a seller trying to go to a consumer and he opens the door and says, sir, agar aap kal door nahi khol paye, to kya hoga? What will the consumer do? He'll say, okay, get out of my house. There is no way that I'm going to have a conversation with you, because it is a sad conversation. What now the industry is doing, and we are leading in that side, is that make this a happier conversation. So when you say protection front foot pay, it means take life on front foot. All right. Once you create your provisions, like in businesses, we all create provisions for bad and doubtful debts, and then we go ahead and execute our plan one, plan two, etc. So what we are trying to say is that it is natural for you to be able to prepare for an unseen future. That's all. Nobody is saying you're going to die. But once you've prepared for your unseen future, now live life on the front foot. So the narrative is your plan to make your plan A of life succeed, have a plan B in place, and life insurance is that plan B of yours. Also, obviously, as we are as our category is increasingly millennials now, no millennial is wanting to understand that what will happen to me if I die tomorrow. Imagine a 25-year-old guy being told, have you planned for your retirement? He's going to come back and tell you, let me at least earn my salary. I'll plan for retirement as I move forward. So a big part of our category is to build awareness, but the positive awareness, not the negative awareness. And that's why we aligned with somebody like RCB, where Virat Kohli is, what a personality that guy is. So we are addressing our client segment more on the millennial side, positive thinking clients with positive thinking commentary. That's why life Geo's protection front foot pay is the obviously linking it to cricket. The front foot pay is linking it to cricket. We'll be launching one more campaign soon as IPL unfolds again on this line itself. That yeah, that's the logic. It's about living. Life insurance is about life. Why do you talk about death? Is the change in the narrative that we're trying to bring to the table. I mean, I can go on, but I would not go on this one.
Look forward to the next campaign, as you just mentioned. Rohit, question for you. Since we are talking about performance, data is oil, the new oil, etc. So how do you measure brand performance? What are the latest metrics of measuring brand performance? And I don't mean awareness and blasting. I remember a cabinet minister who told me recently, I'm not impressed with impressions, something like that. So how do you measure brand performance? I mean, in 2021 September.
So I think we have spoken a lot about digital bringing in performance, right? But I would still say that what performance means for brands, right, is entirely different. I think we were talking about that increasing the reach at a certain point in time and talking about top funnel, right? And then I think you also mentioned somewhere that what works. Is it messaging such as buy here and get 20% off, right? I think the journey of the customer has become longer. I would say there are so many more stages in this journey, right? So effectively reaching the consumer, or probably a lot of your consumers, is possible through reach mediums, but then nudging them to the next step at every point in time, right, becomes really important. That is where messaging, right, how do you nudge the consumer to the next step becomes important, right? And that is where I think Alok and Sujata were also talking about how messaging is important in terms of how and which funnel of the consumer you're trying to address. Now, as I talk about this messaging, right, what is it, or what is the performance goal, or what is the metric that you are trying to get out of that funnel is also very unique and different, right? So let's say while we talk about reach, there are metrics such as impressions, video views, etc., right? But then as you start nudging them to the next funnel, I think in the mid funnel, engagement becomes important, right? How is the consumer engaging to the content or the creative that you're putting out, right? Which are the platforms that you're using? And then definitely at the bottom of the funnel, there are metrics such as it'll be different, right? For automobile, it'll be leads or probably test drives, right? But let's say for Rebel Foods, it might be orders or transactions, etc., right? So again, I mean, what would these metrics be? Would eventually be depending upon what is the funnel, what is the stage of the funnel that you're trying to solve for with that medium, right? So effectively, digital could be a performance medium for a lot of folks, but it could be a branding medium for a lot of folks. And I think from a CMO perspective now, or a CDO perspective, right, I think the lines between branding and performance have blurred, right? I think it's important to see marketing investment from a 360-degree view, right? I think it used to be branding and performance separately, but I think we have seen a lot of brands now where they don't talk about branding and performance, right? They'll be like $1 in and the return out, right? Now you tell us which are the stages that can be touched with this dollar amount, right? And we don't care about which medium or what, right? We need an integrated marketing strategy. So effectively, I think what metric is expected out of stage is something that has changed in the past few years.
Okay. I'll completely agree with you. There's this friend of mine. He's an investor in one of those video apps, right? So they were looking for someone who would help them with brands, with performance marketing, etc., etc. So I said, okay, what you need is a marketing head. And that guy was, no, I don't want a marketing head, because he thought marketing head is the guy who makes big TV ads. Okay. So he said, no, I need a performance guy, someone who understands branding, but will, at the end of the day, make sure that more people download my app. So there's this misunderstanding about marketing amongst the startup community. Would you agree, Rohit? They still think marketing is big ads, big TV ads. The newer lot I'm talking about, not the Zomatos, but the latest 2-3-year-old startups.
I think see, TV is where the big dollars still sit, right? I think for a startup in the first 2-3 years of their journey, right? I think TV is still a far-fetched medium. I think TV is also probably a medium for bigger brands, right? I think a lot of startups eventually at a certain point in time, when they really scale up and have those big marketing dollars, is when TV integrates, right? Before that, because I think spray and pray won't work for them, right? For the bigger companies, it's okay, right? They have the opportunity to invest in those kind of channels, right? So I think digital introduces first, I think, for a lot of companies in early stages, right? And then eventually they start moving towards integrating bigger mediums as well. So when they look for someone who is marketing head, right, for a company which is in early stage, they would want that person to probably know a lot more about matrix and digital mediums and how performance would work, right? Vis-a-vis a large company. So I think it depends upon the life cycle or the life stage of where the company is in its journey. And I think we've seen so many bigger companies and then so many new age startups, right, looking at marketing investments in a totally different way, right? I mean, I think everyone is doing something really unique, right? But I think the base pillars, where I would say messaging, creative innovation, right, all of that is really important. And personalization has become a core of it, right? No one wants to actually reach a wrong user with a wrong messaging, right? Because I think that spoils the experience. All new consumers are spoiled for choice, right? I think they all have options. I would say every consumer at any point in time has 20 options, and there is openness to try, right? I think big ticket purchases never used to happen on digital before, right? But I think they are now. I think people are booking policies and probably consumer durable items which are to the tune of thousands of dollars, right? I would say. Yeah, I mean, and that is happening online. I mean, people don't want to, they're researching, they know what they want and probably making those purchases. So the comfort level has really shifted, right? And hence I would say again, it is completely dependent upon the journey in which the company, or probably the life stage in which the company is, in terms of what they want.
Okay, thank you. Shriram, quick question for you. Influencers, and I keep hearing about, I believe the Indian cricket captain charges crores to put out a tweet, the ultimate influencer and so on. So what is your opinion on influencers in your particular category? Does it work? Does it push brand values? Does it, at the end of the funnel, get a car, test drive or sale or whatever? How does it work?
I think influencer marketing should be connected with, I think, content strategy, right? I mean, it's about what content works where. You have multiple types of content. You've got content which drives information, content that drives emotion, content that's curated by the customer, and you got to figure out what is the best way to connect with the customer, right? I mean, so for example, Nissan is collaborating with Kapil Dev, Padma Bhushan Kapil Dev, who's been, the legend, the stalwart of cricket. but we're not using him for a particular promotion of a particular vehicle or doing a tweet. We're actually working with him on CSR campaigns. So for example, we did around 7 videos on COVID with him, communicating to the general audience about how to stay safe, stay within the crease, depend on the third empire to make sure that, similar to how you need to call up the doctor when you have questions, or wear your gloves just like you need to wash your hand every time. So, I mean, you could call him an influencer, but for us, he was a spokesperson who spoke a particular language which people would trust. And it aligned with our CSR initiatives, where we were contributing to governments in Tamil Nadu and in Delhi, providing them ambulances or providing them with sanitizers or beds, so on and so forth. So important to have the right spokesperson. And sometimes you can have your own key employees as your influencer. Your customers are your biggest influencer. I mean, we've got a community called the Lord of the Roads who are out there driving Nissan vehicles, and they are very active on social media. And we actually work with them on brunches and on lunches, and actually get them to tell a story about either a fuel economy or about what their experiences and what their, what is it that they like in our vehicle, which got them to buy this vehicle. So they are influencers for us. So traditional influencer marketing for paying crores to someone to tweet, I'm not a big supporter of that, because I think it's just putting money in the drain. But I think when it's purposeful, when it helps serve telling a message in a proper manner, I think it works. It works really well, really well if you use the right connotation. And I think that is actually happening a lot more now than before.
Thanks, Sriram. We're kind of running out of time, but I would like to hear from Indrajit, since you mentioned COVID, communication. I really like the campaign that these guys did, OYO Rooms, where they, spoke about safety over many months. So I'm sure your company also did something similar digitally, since you have so many contact points, the food business and so on. Would you care to tell us what you did? Anything interesting? Any interesting campaign?
Let's start with the proud one, and obviously the others we are proud of. But this is, I think, the one time I was really proud how fast we turned it around. Right from the moment a person has ordered from any of our Rebel brands, a consumer has ordered from any of our Rebel brands, they start getting an SMS with a link to exactly at what temperature their food was, who were the people cooking it, and the rider's temperature, be it a delivery rider from aggregator platform. In fact, this used to go out on a separate website because we didn't have the development time. We wanted to roll it out immediately. And this went as a separate landing page, and they got all the information. This was later standardized by all the delivery partners, and became kind of a norm. And even today, on any platform that you order food, you can see that the delivery rider's temperature and all safety details are there. But I think we had pioneered it within, like, say, 2 weeks of March 20, when the behemoth COVID after effects happened. So that I think was the proudest moment. Now, if I go into, and that created a large amount of word of mouth. People on social media shared it. People obviously spoke about it to others. Making Rebel Foods a very, not Rebel Foods, but the brands of Rebel Foods, a very trusted, paradigm of brands. But apart from that, of course, we did a lot of ads. I mean, I'm sure you all must have seen Oven Story, the safest pizza in town, which we had done to actually talk about how our pizzas are baked above 230 degrees Celsius, how there's a complete no contact guarantee, and so on and so forth. We went on to do the same for Behrooz and Fasos as well. In fact, we did a whole kitchen tour for Behrooz, Fasos, and Oven Story at that point. And even for our smaller brands, we did an overall Rebel Foods advertisement, which didn't make it on TV, but on social media, and we pushed it digitally. We also ensured that we did not just, and that's what I meant, the whole hub hygiene and hero factor. On a hygiene level, we ensured that we continuously share all the information that a person needs to see. I mean, we sent out mailers which were either from the brand managers or the kitchen managers, notes to customers wherever we felt that there might have been some level of contact. So we would send out a mailer or a note, or even in huge digital campaigns, we would send out a complete programmatic communication to every customer that each of your food delivered is contact free. If you choose to have your food delivered at any space and not delivered hand to hand by the delivery rider, please let us know. So these are very minute micro interactions that we ensured were done, so that at every point people felt safe. I think the best way to measure how safe we were is that we continuously went on doing surveys. That, do you feel that we are safe? Are you satisfied with our services? Is there anything that we could do? And by the end of like the first 6 months, which was the biggest depression in when it came to like food ordering, because people were scared. People did not know what this is, how this is going to affect you when you order online. In those 6 months, we gradually went on seeing our average order values improve. We actually went on seeing our NPS go almost up to like 80, 85, which meant that the sentiment of food ordering became better. And all of this was like a communication which was in one way, it was two way. We went on interacting, not just sending information. I think that was the biggest learning.
Thanks, Indri. Thanks a lot. That was very in depth and all that. I'll request Sujata to kind of wrap it up for all of us. Sujata is a singer also. I'm sure some of you know. Okay. I wish I could ask her to sing the concluding remarks, but just tell us nonetheless, what is, the branding and the performance marketing, is it meeting? Will it meet more closely? Will digital replace TV someday? Does it need to? So on. You've got about a minute. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Shubho. So I'm speaking for everyone here, all my panelists. I think that number one, TV will continue, digital will grow, and they will both coexist. I don't see one, making the other go out of existence. So that's my first thing. Second point, I would say content is key. So no matter what you do, whichever screen you choose, which medium you choose, you have to get the right content to the right person. Third, like I said, the consumer is a distracted consumer today. They have multiple screens on at all time. So we cannot assume that they're going to just be watching our message and, single-handedly focusing on that. That's the third point, I would say. And I would say for all, we have, in this panel, we have a whole wide range of brands, and we've seen very similar messaging coming from each person. So I would say we are looking for performance marketing. We are looking to measure results, and that will come across with, more and more with campaigns that we do. TV will continue to give us the reach and the width, the sort of the depth that we need in the country, the width and depth. Digital will help us reach the right consumer with the right messaging. What digital also does is helps us, like I said, give longer messaging, storytelling, retargeting, and making sure you're reaching the right person with your right message. So to conclude, since it's short time, I would say the two will coexist. And they will actually, I see more interdependencies between the two. Right now, you generally have a strategy for TV, you have one for digital. I see as marketers and as media partners, we will see the two come together and be a single strategy going forward.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you, Jackishan, Sriram, Alok, Indrajit, Rohit. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I kind of went aboard the allocated time. Would love to hear your thoughts, summing up thoughts, but maybe we'll do it on social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sen Gupta, and all the panelists for your detailed thoughts on the topic. Stay tuned for the next session.